Well, hello. My name is Jeff. That handsome devil sitting there with me is Mike, and we are your hosts of the Old People This Week podcast. We endeavor every week to bring you the news behind the news, not the headline news, the real news that you need to know for the weekend so you sound smart when you're with your buddies or your uh, not so close buddies at the gym, at the golf course, having coffee, or, of course, at happy hour.
What we live for at the end of the day.
That's right. That's where we do our best research and do our most awesome hanging out. We have a lot to go over this week because it's been about 10 days since we were on. And during that time, a lot has happened. I'm going to recount some of the late end of the year crimes and misdemeanors that took place across the country that made news. You may have heard of some of them. Some of them you won't know the story of, but
you won't want to have heard.
you'll want to know these stories for when you do get together with your friends. And then what might be described as a crime, though I don't think necessarily everybody saw it that way, but was the Golden Bachelor wedding that took place on the 4th, last week on the 4th, between Gary Turner and his Amarata, Ms. Teresa Nist. And they tied the knot in Old Town, La Quinta, California, at the La Quinta Resort. And I'll start off by saying that I went down there to try to finagle my way into the resort and find the couple themselves if I could, or at least find the set for the wedding. And I got there early in the morning on that Thursday and made my way through the back part of the resort. It's a pretty large place, and in a sort of a sealed off area. And I mean sealed off as you had to have a lanyard with a ID to go through some of the gates to get back there. I could see, and I have recorded, and you'll see B-roll of some of the lighting towers and the people hanging out and some of the trucks that were there to unload. But I got no closer than that. I did not run into Gary. I did not see Teresa. Otherwise, I would have told him, run while you can.
Run while you can, buddy.
But he didn't run. And he went out there, and after a short, I would guess, 3 or 4 month sort of wooing period, he has married her, and now they're off to Italy on their honeymoon. So what was your takeaway for all this, Mike?
I look at it from two different perspectives. First of all, looking at the production, it was probably an 8-minute event that was stretched into however long it was. I think I fell asleep in the middle. 2 hours. Oh my God! I mean, it was agonizing. It was just agonizing.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and this is largely due to the prodding from my wife, who thinks I'm a lifelong grouch and always looking for the darker side of any event. I really, at the end, was kind of taken with what appears to be their true affection for each other. I mean, it actually wound up being kind of sweet. But oh my God, to get to the end of it, it was like hitting yourself in the hand with a hammer.
It was speaking from a perspective of a television producer who did a lot of live television, I know the problems with going live out there. And also they didn't have the advantage of having any professionals to lead you through it. Meaning they had Jesse, but they were depending on that Kathy, I think her name was, to basically be part of the co-host to talk to people on that so-called red carpet.
Yeah, it was total amateur hour, and I was like, oh my God.
And then there was a lot of commercial breaks that were even more difficult to to get through.
In between the vows.
Yeah. Interrupt the vows for
the vows. Yeah. For laxative commercial. It was like, how fitting.
Well, but you're right. In the end of the day, who are we to look down on the lovebirds who are, making this sacrifice, and God knows how much they were getting paid for. Oh, I noticed that Gary still couldn't get over his habit of repeating the words, mouthing the words of their vows.
Yeah, it was
The way we're saying them.
that became the highlight of towards the end of the process when they were actually doing the
That's
vows. It was like,
that's
Gary, don't please don't do that.
No, I have done a lot of live television, and I've never seen anybody so blatantly reveal that they've had a script that they've memorized, and they
Yeah,
memorized everybody else's parts too, that they could say them, and that was just crazy. And
yeah, no, that
I
was the
know that
thing.
if I was in the truck, I would have been pulling my hair out and say, "Stop him."
Slap him, do something.
They'll keep the
God,
camera off him at the very least, but they
yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was a successful show, and they put a lot of promo in there for the next Bachelor guy.
Do you think they're going to do a show on the trip to Italy? Like,
Oh,
they couldn't afford the
maybe.
production costs for that, probably.
I just that's a good point. I wonder what the next step is for Gary and Teresa. Do they just disappear? Do they become part of the so-called Bachelor Nation, and they're going to be trotted out every time there's a show? But they don't kind of fit in because they're much older, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
like the young guy who's the next new Bachelor. I mean, that show's already in the can, right? Isn't that done?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So he's
I
standing
honestly
there
don't know, but I would imagine that, I don't know. I don't know if it's done now yet.
because it seemed like some of the slips Jesse made when he was talking to the guy sounded like it's either partially in the can or whatever. And then you see the ads for it now. They're advertising the hell out of it.
I was going to say that that there is. I don't know if they pre-taped the entirety of these shows already. It's impossible that they have, and that they and that the new Bachelor is already married. Who knows? Oh, that was the other thing, is that guy with the long earrings and the cowboy hat
Yeah,
got
who
down
was
on,
that?
and he must be part of that Bachelor Nation that I have no idea who that
I
was.
yeah, I it was weird. The whole thing was weird. I mean, it was a happy ending, but yeah.
Yeah, All right, anyway, so let's go on to the other crimes and misdemeanors of the past few weeks. There was a website I found called piratewires.com. I'll put it below in case somebody wants to check it out. But they wrote an article that is entitled, their title, by the way, "Crazy Shit on Planes." And I'm not going to give you all the crazy shit that happened on planes, because we'd be talking here for the next 12 hours. But the most serious one was one that made the news, and this is not an unknown story, but it's still incredible when you hear about it, is that an Alaskan Airlines pilot by the name of Joseph Emerson was charged with 83 counts of attempted murder after he shut off both of his plane's engines mid-flight, believing it would help him wake up from a 2-day magic mushroom trip. Other crew members subdued him, and the plane made an emergency landing in Portland. This guy actually was not piloting the plane, but he was riding in the jump seat. He was a guest
Yeah.
flying. They found room for him, and he freaked out from taking too many shrooms, and he tried to jettison the plane.
Now my question is, even if he was just in the jump seat, how the hell does he get on the airplane and pass how many other peers or professionals, and somebody doesn't pick up on the fact that he's higher than a kite? I just don't get that.
I don't know. He must have kept his shit together until he sat down. Then all of a sudden he lunges for those dials, and they subdued him. But I mean, he's in dead serious trouble, because I followed up on this, and he is charged with 83 counts of murder.
Oh yeah, no, he's done. I mean, yeah, the only The only flying he will do from now on is whatever drugs he finds in prison.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Whatever he takes, or whatever transport that he take him to prison will be the next time he's on the plane.
He's toast.
That's 83 counts. That makes Charles Manson look like a complete piker, by the
Yeah.
way. And then the second thing that in the Pirate Wires of the Crazy Shit on Planes article was that I brought up was the most hilarious, which was on a flight to Barcelona. A flight to Barcelona was diverted after a diarrhea incident.
Stop, please.
A flight from Atlanta to Barcelona, Atlanta, Georgia, thank you very much, had to turn around after a passenger had diarrhea all the way through the plane, according to audio from the cockpit. A woman on Twitter who claimed her partner was on the plane said, in quotes, "It was pretty bad. It dribbled down the aisle and smelled terrible.
Oh my
The
God.
vanilla scented disinfectant used on it only made it smell like vanilla shit."
Now, here's a more pressing question. If you're halfway between Atlanta and Barcelona, where the hell do you turn around? Where do you go to?
Turn around as soon as I saw that. But I've seen some. I was on a plane going to Vegas when people were hammered and there was fist fights and crazy stuff happening. But I've never seen anything like this. That would be.
And then on top of the news in the last couple of days about the doors blowing out of a Boeing airplane. I mean, I'm going to drive everywhere I go now. I'm going to try.
If the door had come off that plane, I would have thrown the diarrhea person out. Because and I would have demanded my money back for that ticket and never flown again. Did I say what airline it was? No, I didn't say what airline. It didn't say what airline it was.
Yeah, don't, or they'll sue you.
And other news, and this is from my home state and near my hometown of Cleveland, a thief got into an art store, and what did he steal? Well, it was a 17-inch Bigfoot statue, and after he stole this Bigfoot statue, why he wanted a Bigfoot statue?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a pressing question there.
Well, it was a Bigfoot statue in an art store, but he left behind two envelopes. One envelope had $6 inside, and the other one contained a blue marble.
So he vastly overpaid for the Bigfoot statue.
Well, what's the blue marble about?
Well, that makes more sense in an art store than a Bigfoot statue. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness. And plus he got away with it. They've never caught the guy.
They don't want to. They don't want the statue back.
It'll be on eBay. I'll have to check for it.
Yeah.
And then another good of these crime and misdemeanors of late. A man in Eagle Lake, Minnesota, sounds pretty rural, called 911 around 7:30 p.m. to report a domestic violence situation. The dispatcher heard screams in the background of the call, and responding officers followed the yells inside the house, where a woman had allegedly hit her boyfriend in the head with a whole chicken.
A live chicken? Presumably, if it was a rural area.
No, I think it was one of those cooked chicken, maybe one of those ones you get at the grocery store that's already cooked.
A Costco chicken. Great.
Costco chicken. That would be a waste. The Costco chickens are good.
They're big.
They want to be wasted.
They'd hurt you, yeah.
On somebody's head.
Yeah.
And the crack team of detectives that showed up at the house said, in quotes, the victim still had some chicken residue in his hair.
I can only imagine.
What was her? She was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic assault.
Not animal abuse.
That's what you get nowadays for hitting somebody over the head with a chicken. You get misdemeanor assault. Okay. So in this story is a dead body discovered in the passenger seat after driver said the damage in his car was from hitting an animal. This is in Dallas, where a Dallas area driver was accused of fatally striking a pedestrian driving 40 miles an hour, then parking at a restaurant and telling police who discovered a body in his passenger seat that he believed he had hit an animal. His name was Nestor Joel Lujan Flores, who's 31 years old. He was slumped over the steering wheel of his Kia Forte that had extensive damage to his hood. I'll put a picture of his hood damage. And they found him at a restaurant. And he was convicted of driving while intoxicated and is accused of intoxication manslaughter. So basically, he's flying down the street, drunk, hits a pedestrian. The pedestrian flies through the windshield and lands in the front seat next to him, in which Mr. Flores is oblivious to the fact that this guy's there. And by the dent, as you can see, is one that looked like he hit an elephant or something. It's not a small dent whatsoever.
And no, so the Kia Forte is a small car.
Yeah, so, right.
And so you have a dead body in the seat next to you. It's pretty hard to confuse it with a deer.
He not only did he confuse it with it, he drove for 40 miles west of Dallas to the restaurant, and then somebody must have called the cops then, but he slumped over. He passed out in the car. Somebody calls the cops, and they arrive and they find the poor schlub sitting next to him,
with legs sticking out of the windshield.
Oh, it says that he had been in the restaurant parking lot for several hours.
Oh my God!
The police arrived. Now, if you are that drunk, then there's no coming back from that.
No,
you have no excuse. There's nothing to say.
No.
Just go to jail. Check yourself into jail and stay there for a while.
Yeah, I didn't really hit anybody. What do you mean?
Well, who's the dead body sitting next to you, sir?
Well, he was there when I got. He was there. He was there when I got in my car.
Yeah, deer.
He was. The police planted him.
Yeah, like OJ, that glove. He should get Johnny Cochran, if he was still alive, to represent him. If the body don't fit, you must acquit.
Quit. Oh my God.
But So at the end of it, at the end of it, I guess he's still in jail. I'll have to follow up and see, but I can't imagine them letting him out after that escapade.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
That would be as I've become older, I've become more aware of not ever getting into a car when I drink, because you simply don't want to go through that. So I Uber to places, or I have my trustworthy sober wife to drive me when I drank too much. But so Mike, if you ever see me out, make sure that I'm ever in a state of getting into a car in which I could possibly hit a pedestrian, have him come flying in next to me and mistake him for a deer.
Yeah, no, I watch you closely because you crashed your electric bicycle when you were completely sober. So I would really worry about you operating anything mechanical after a martini.
It would be like if I had woke up after crashing my electric bike and there was another human being laying next to me, and I tried to say, I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
Who knows? All right, the last story for today is then one that you'll want to pass along to your friends, because it's a good story. It's a good story about where someone had something good happen to them. There was a woman by the name of Jessica Vincent in Virginia. She walks into a Goodwill store. She buys a vase, and she has no idea that it was designed by a renowned Italian architect by the name of Carlo Scarpa. So she made her way through this busy Goodwill store in Hanover County, Virginia. She passed over VCRs, it says, lamps, glassware, probably old clothes. She didn't want anything else there, and she saw this iridescent glass vase. After doing a lap around the store, she returned to the bottle-shaped vase with red and green swirls. She noticed a small M at the bottom of the vase that she believed stood for Murano, an island off Venice, and a historical home of Italian glassware. She had a feeling it might be worth something, and the damn thing was worth $100K. She
Get
paid
out of
what?
here.
No,
I
she
love
paid.
that stuff.
Yeah, she paid. What did she pay for it? $4 for it.
Yeah. It's like the guy who bought the dogs playing poker painting, and it turned out to be a Van Gogh under under the original layer. I mean, just crazy stuff. I love that.
Yeah, I don't find that. Well, I go to Goodwill stores and I find exactly you get exactly what you think it is. It's some broken VCR that I bought, or
Yeah.
something else stupid that I think, oh, I can use this, and then it never works, and I I end up throwing it out and losing my money, but nothing of value.
I thought maybe that stylish hooded sweatshirt you're wearing might have been on a trip to a previously owned clothing store.
No, this one I got at Old Navy in Manhattan Beach, California.
Ooh.
Because I needed I was cold. I had forgotten to bring a sweatshirt to the place I was going, and so I needed something to put over my shirt. And at the time, so I ran into Old Navy and bought this thing for probably $15, but it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And by the way, when it's done being comfortable, it will show up in our local Goodwill.
Your local.
You know, there's a lot of thrift store type places around here where we live.
There are tons of them, and you think about it, with all the retirement money and the people at the ends of their careers or whatever, starting their retired lives, there's an awful lot of good stuff that makes it into those stores. Yeah. And there's one in one of the cities nearby where we live here that my wife and I go to all the time, and there's terrific stuff. I mean, very, very expensive high-end stuff. Yeah. And it's always curious about, how did he get there? What did someone either replace it with that was even better, or what are the stories behind some of these things? Kind of interesting.
Yeah, and there is a lot of stuff out here like that, but it's not all in the Goodwill stores, because I go up and down the streets around here if I'm walking the dog or just out for a walk, and if the garages are open on homes in the area where I live, the garages are generally packed to the gills with stuff, including my next door neighbor, your friend Rick, who's got he's like the Smithsonian. He's got enough stuff in that garage of his it could probably fill a stadium.
Yeah, no, and as we have repeatedly threatened our followers with, we'll have to get Rick on the show one of these days. Yeah. But he's blessed with a wife who is a hoarder, but Rick is a master at cruising the neighborhoods for the open garage. And I remember a short time ago, actually, he was walking by and a guy had a bicycle on the curb, and I think Rick bought it for like $20, and he brought it home, put it on eBay for $350, and sold it the next day. I mean, just
yeah. Not only is he a hoarder, married to a hoarder, but he's an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, no, he's constantly on the lookout. I love him.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what to do now when I have some extra stuff I don't need. I'll just leave it out in front of the house. It'll end up next door if I ever need it back.
Yeah, just re-gift it.
All right. Well, listen, my friend, we're going to sign off now, and we will see you next week. And between then, remember, you're not getting old, you're getting smarter.
Getting smarter, and as my father used to say, never go over or under anything you can go around.
Words to live by.
Words.